I have to have been one of the most unlikely people to have ever come to hear a guide channel, to be honest. So I spent the first 30 years of my life growing up in a very strict religious cult, and I only escaped that 3.5 years ago. And you didn't do anything like mediums, woo, spirituality. That was way out of bounds. So even when I left, I still kept quite strictly religious, and it was like taken me quite a while. In fact, I think we connected over a year ago now, and you reached out and said, "Hey, let's have a coffee chat." And I'm like, "Woo, I don't think I can handle this. I'm not ready. I'm not going there just yet." And I just ghosted on you, I think. So apologies, but you've been awfully gracious about that. So I think that's in the past, hopefully. But yeah, then I started to tiptoe into it, and I was looking at mediums and spirituality in general, and obviously getting a lot more into manifesting. And then came across, which I can't wait for tomorrow, your joint live with Gabby in her group. And it was like, so this was what it was about. Okay, I'm in for a piece of that. And that just put a whole different perspective on it. And I was like, I don't want to miss out on this anymore. It was super interesting what you were saying about mastering areas of your life, because I totally did that 18 months ago when I looked at relationships. It was like, this is just, the universe just kept getting those messages stronger and stronger. It's like, when are you going to wake up? And I really was forced to master that area of my life. And it's like, wow, when you do, the rewards are just so juicy. They really are. So it's like, yeah, okay. As you said, fun was a big area for me, because one of the big things in the cult was anything fun was out of the equation. We just didn't do it. There was so much we weren't allowed to do. And even though I now had the ability to do it, I didn't really think that way. And it seemed like it was really hard for me to relax into having it. And I was like, I want this now. And I get glimpses of it, but only glimpses. And then I would feel really stuck. And then obviously we talked, and we started the sessions. And that was one of the questions, was like, okay, guides, please, can you help me? How do I have more fun? So I'm not sure how many people have asked you that. But the answer was just like, it was so practical. It was just not what I expected at all. It's like, okay, you need to go away and write yourself a list and grade it from 1 to 10. And I have to be honest with you, I didn't even get that far, and the fun started coming in. Hands up, I haven't even done the homework, and just putting the thoughts out there and getting into that headspace, and it's just gone like that. It just literally has. So I asked you that in the April. In the May, I had already booked a scenic flight, and which I've been waiting to do for ages, and I just hadn't given myself permission to actually do it because it felt like it was wasteful. And then I'd found an opportunity to partake in a charitable cause that was really important to me, because it was about my chickens, as you know. And at the end of that, the way we were raising funds for that was to do a wing walk.
Okay, so you have to explain to people what that is. Like, it's so crazy. Like, it's so crazy.
So a wing walk basically is, you're on a very old plane that is like a biplane, so it has 2 sets of wings, and you are strapped standing upright to the top of this plane, and they take you up for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, like the thing flies in the sky while you sit on top of the plane, not inside the plane.
Yeah, trying to figure out how to breathe at 160 miles an hour. It's kind of challenging, but it was so much fun. And it was like another level of just, like, spa days and things like that have all been not just a luxury, but like scary, actually, because I've not come from a place of relaxing and having fun and letting go. There was a lot of control in the past, and I've kind of tried to really stay in that controlling space. And it's like, no, that's not what fun's about, and it's not what the guides had in mind at all. So yeah, and then it's just continued from there. So on Saturday afternoon, I'm taking my fiance down to do a test flight with the same pilot who did the scenic flight, and he's going to do a quick test flight because my fiance's not quite so into flying, to see how he feels, so that we can start traveling with that pilot and taking day trips abroad with a private pilot. Like, how fun is that? And you just get popped into private airports, you don't have all the queues and everything, and it's not stopped. So yeah, it was speed. It was just so fast.
Yeah, and looks so scary. I actually didn't know what wing walk was. Like, I was like, what is that? I thought you were going to walk somewhere. I thought it was just like a walk, like you were raising funny, you're going to do a walk in the park. I was
Yeah.
not expecting you were going to be strapped on like an airplane and then fly in the middle of air.
Yes, it was definitely on. I think it would probably rate it about an 11 on the fun list.
Yeah, it was also scary looking.
Yeah, I had a mini panic attack up there, but I'm super pleased I did it. And I think it's just, again, it was like, there's that sense of freedom, and it was flight, and it was like, do you know what? I'm just taking this to a new level.
Yeah. So tell us, how do you feel now, being out of the call and then working with the guides? Like, how do you just feel, in that experience of it?
I've been really curiously leaning into it anyway, but what I found really fascinating is it's not as, how can I put it? It's not as mythical. It's not as intangible as you think it is. I think you're a really great person to show that. Like, some woo is just too far for me. It's like woo, and it's so ethereal that it's hard to, I feel like I'm too far apart from that, because I'm really kind of grassrootsy redneck. Like, there's no there's no fancy in that sense, and I'm like, how do I bridge that gap? But it's not like that. And I know one of the times, actually, I nearly pulled out on a session with you. Maybe I did, I can't remember whether something happened, and I remember sitting there with huge anxiety saying, I don't have any questions, I don't know what to ask, and now my anxiety's going right up. And you're like, you don't have to have any questions, just turn up, they'll do the talking. And sure enough, everything they delivered was exactly in line with stuff that had been going on. It just tied straight in.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, in a weird way, it's kind of like far more tangible than we imagine it to be.
Yes, I'm really glad you said that, because actually the guides are really practical. I'm a really practical person, first of all. Like, I wouldn't really accept them if they were just all woo-woo. Like, I just, for me, on a personal level, like, I just can't accept them if they were just all woo and telling me about all woo stuff, I talk to them like I would talk to a friend. Really, it's like basic daily life questions, like you ask your friend, hey, what do you think, right? That's actually how I communicate with them. So I'm really glad you said that. They're actually really practical. This is why, if you come in and you actually have serious questions, they will be able to give you an answer. It's not just going to be like, oh, go meditate and then just like think on the clouds,
It's not like that at all. But it's fascinating, what I think, from my perspective, that you said you talk to them like a friend. Going back to like my religious side, we were always encouraged to do that with God and the Lord and all that. We were supposed to talk to them like a friend. So it's like, how come it's that far apart, and that, there was that resistance? And it's just fascinating to, it just the message just comes through so clear.
Oh my God, I hear like chirping. Are those your chickens?
Yes, I thought this was going to noise cancel them. I'm sorry, but yes, they're all going crazy in here.
Okay, yeah. So Jessie is a huge fan of raising really cute chickens, and she's also an author. You want to tell people about your book?
Oh, yeah. So my mentor, Tomorrow's Not Promised, is out. My memoir, rather.
Memoir.
Memoir. And the sequel to that is due out shortly as well, which has been really interesting, because that was one of the very first questions that we touched on with the guides. Was like, there were so many things I wanted to do, and it was like a centipede, pray which leg comes first. And it was like, what do I do first? And then we just made that so clear that, what, you need to be a Girl Scout. I loved that. You need to be a Girl Scout. It's like, take away all the guru-ness. You don't need to be like anything perfectionist. Just be a Girl Scout guide for the change breakers and the change makers and the cycle breakers, and show them how to get their story out.
Yeah.
And they made that so clear. There was so much practical detail in that. They never half-ass anything, ever. They're like, you go into a session and you come out with like, I don't know, like, it feels like 6 months worth of work to do, but it's just because I need to condense that time down. There's so much they give you in a session.
Yeah, I think people are very surprised, and I always try to warn them. They're not going to tell you what you want to hear, but they will tell you what you need to hear, and just be prepared to be a little bit overwhelmed, because this is not like a regular coaching where they're kind of talking to you, asking you stuff, and there's a bit of that chit chatting. There's like no chit chatting. Like you come, it's like a straight full on answer for however many minutes. And sometimes I'm like gasping for air, by the end of my channeling session.
I remember you saying how much you were sweating every time because it's just the energy that comes through, and you can feel it.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that experience, because I think a lot of people are really afraid to like even come try out a session. Like I know people always want are curious to but I don't know. Oh, I don't know. It's so scary.
It's super fun. And I know, one of the other exercises they gave me, which I love, and I'm leaning far more into it now, and it feels like it's a possibility, because I know at the time I was like, oh, they were saying like you need to sit down and write 49 pages on your future life, what you want your future life to be. And I was like, how am I going to come up with that much detail as to what I want? But now, having like opened up that portal of expansion, it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. And it's just working through it. And it's like more and more comes to me as to what I want, whereas I did not have that space, that size container before. It was just like I was narrowing down what I could do so much.
Yeah, they were really specific with you, because I don't think they told anybody else to write 49 pages, but I think they told you because you're a writer.
And I just loved it. It was nothing like 49 pages of manifesting. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. No,
we don't think we can ask for that much, I don't think.
Right. Well, it's just that the guides are really specific in terms of giving you the solution that's tailored to you. Honestly, when I channel, everybody's like, all the answers are different. I love my work because I'm never bored. It's not like I teach people the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Like everybody's direction is different. Like the way to get there is different. And they've got 100,000 paths to show you where you need to go. Yeah, go ahead. So they do make it very simple. And so for you, because you're a writer, they're like, here's a method that works for you. Just go do that. So I think you're starting on your 49 pages of manifesting.
I have. I've put a page per particular big thing, and I'm like, right, I'm going to go into the detail of that now.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. That was super fun. Yeah, everybody should go check out her wing walk. It's very crazy. And her book as well. So you can hear about really her transformation of living in a cult to just coming out. That's a huge evolution. That's a really, really huge evolution. And thanks for trusting me and to really actually take a leap of faith to do this work. So I really appreciate that.